Yeah. Okay.
So you want to like start over or whatever, or like explain what I'm talking about, or like?
Should I say I'm Brian and you're Trina? Doesn't matter.
Dr. Transcenzo!
Is somebody going to be listening to this?
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully there are people that know your voice and that like tune in just for the Brian episodes.
Oh, just for the Brian?
Yes!
Wow.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? And Michael, of course.
Yeah, it's the Brian and Michael show. It's kind of a little spin-off.
And they're kind of like almost
Trina
inseparable, so...
We're inseparable.
Yeah, absolutely inseparable. But I wasn't sure if that was a fact statement to state.
We're kind of talking about how, you seem to, like, repeatedly be drawing these, the interest of these guys who see you in a very sexual kind of way. And how, like... your page is not necessarily an invitation to that on every one of these. So, did you want to put it in your own words?
No, but I do love the way you freaking use words and everything that you are. Like, I love all that. So, thank you for your narratives.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm just trying to.
It's so articulate.
Make
and, like,
it simple.
Politically correct.
I'm just trying to strip it down to what it needs to be.
I have emotional attachment to it. I didn't catch your pun. Apologies.
Strip it down.
Oh, but I'm cha. Yeah. All right. See, I think that's another thing to add into that too, is that stripper comment that you made earlier. But first, let me just open it up in like recap or whatever. So I was opening up to Brian how like I have this page and how like I like to have the freedom to express myself in my nudity and my sexuality or sensuality or my embodiment being a female. And sometimes the energy just comes off the way it is. I could be wearing a trash bag and people still have that vibration towards me. And that's been that way like forever. And like I have mixed feelings about it, right? Like part of me like, oh yeah, of course I want to be wanted. Like that's kind of a good feeling. However, at the same time, like I don't want to be manipulated and tricked into like, coming together with someone that like isn't of my best interest or doesn't have my best interest in mind. Type thing. Another aspect that's coming up was so creating this web page, right? And then there's like nudity exposed, and then saying that just because a artist produces nude artwork doesn't mean that there's consent for the person to be sexually used in the mind of the individual viewing the content of the art. So in my imagination, though, it's kind of like almost like a biblical programming, right? That even if we cheat in the mind on our partners that we're doing in real life, so it's like the same thing, like, you're thinking about being with this person and doing all these things to them, and it's not really like in their will, they're not consensually saying, yeah, I totally would love for you to think about me in that way and doing that with me. I'm totally safe with that actually happening. You know what I mean? And then Brian was mentioning... Actually, I have one more thing I want to mention before I mention Brian's comment. The other thing I was mentioning, or that I was accessing, and was about, like, imagine a woman being in front of you, like, wide eagle spread, like, and how it just wasn't really an invitation for you to just, like, stick it in or come up there or do anything to her just because she's in that form in front of you. And... and I understand that, like, I guess you could say that, like, people are slaves to their sexual energy because, like, literally people can't control and become rapists. And then Brian was talking about how, like, what, internet girls are doing is no different than, like, a stripper online, or, like, a stripper in person, she doesn't want you to come up and touch her, and that's not really appropriate behavior either.
I didn't exactly say that.
So then give your own words. But that's all we had, and I was like, dude, we gotta record this. This is too powerful.
This is where context is everything, okay? And it's like, so what the content of this conversation is, there's a lot of different contexts. There's a lot of different levels of what's going on. This was a conversation between you and I.
Yes.
But now there's a third party.
Absolutely.
That we're like somehow addressing, that we're trying to like clarify what it is that we're actually talking about, where I thought we were just actually talking about it, but
I mean, I definitely want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, it seems
and I want to hear
like
other opinions too.
Okay, and that's good, and I appreciate you bearing your soul and wanting to share it with everybody.
Yet, there's also my own personal individualism, how the heck I feel about the whole thing and what I want out of it.
Don't let this be the thing that is like an excuse or a way to get away from what the real issue was that we would be talking about, because you were getting close to, I think, like a realization, and then you jumped to let's record this.
Well, there's
because it's important, but it was like it almost like took us out of that stream of thought where you could have got to maybe what might be a very painful realization about your own stuff.
I already know that, and I'll be open about that too, and to share with how far I got. So some people say that it's disrespectful of me and not loving of my body for me to be exposing myself and to be doing these things. When I was an 18-year-old girl, I was a web camera model, and that's what I enjoyed doing was releasing myself. And at the time, it wasn't something that I felt dirty or wrong or that I did it because of money or anything like that. It was nothing like that. It was just out of pure play and exploration. And then I kind of grew up by others, society telling me that's dirty, that's that's SW, super sex work and shaming, and then prostitution, and then also of course with the religious aspects of also trying to state that my body's only for my husband, or that's a holy temple and it's not to be exposed. And then though the other aspects for me comes in on that too, what about the goddess energy, or the Garden of Eden energy, where we were all naked and we didn't feel nasty, and I don't think that sexuality or nakedness should be...
Innocent sensuality and sexuality is where we need to be.
It feels like we're using each other. Oh my god, look at that person. I want to use their body and take from them that energy. I want them to serve me. I want them to give me kisses. I want them to buy me all of this stuff. I want them to hunt and provide. You know what I mean? I don't enjoy those things, and I don't feel like we're anybody's really talking about this stuff, and nobody's doing behavioral changes, and I feel kind of a need to expose my own stuff, so that I can kind of come to a conclusion. For me, I know that I became a webcam model from my hypersexuality, which came from my sexual abuse. April is a sexual assault awareness month, so I decided that I was going to come out and teach what rape is. I literally Googled the definition of rape, because a lot of people, they don't know what rape means. They don't know that it's not just someone forcing you. There's a lot of I guess I could be more specific, right? Touching a girl in her sleep, that still counts as rape. Forcing a girl, even though she's saying no, it doesn't have to be that too. There's a lot of different aspects. Then there's, of course, statutory rape, that is an obstacle or a level of thinking to go down too, that also ties into all this. I just don't think that sexuality is something that's really taught, or but boundaries isn't really taught, and I don't think that what culture is shoving down our throats is necessarily what feels right either. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that we should just be hooking up with everybody and doing all that. However, I have had the thought before that a woman wasn't really meant to always, not every woman was meant to be with one person forever, that humans were meant to do that combine genetics with this dude, and then combine genetics with this person, and then create these different special people by making love and being in alignment, and not about cultural stories, how you have to do this and all of these, or you're a bad person, the control, the manipulation, the storylines.
Well, all right, this is getting kind of back to the context of it all. Everything
is it the shame?
Yeah, well, everything that you experience and is really processed through your worldview, your perspective,
your ego.
Your worldview is kind of even beyond your conscious, I think. It's what you just believe at your core, even in an unconscious level.
I believe in true love, unconditional love.
Well, okay. I mean, yeah, that's a beautiful place to be. but there is an underlying operating sort of thing about how you see the universe, what you think is controlling, if anything's controlling it at all. And this is where
You're right. Like,
faith and free will, the thing about all
Also
of
great
these
topics.
people that are, it's like, you can't actually show me your boobies and then tell me, now, you can't want me. You can't do that. You can say you can't touch me, you can't have me, and that's true. But you can't tell
I can't
me.
control that.
But that's of my own free will. I could say,
Whoa, pause. But it's not your free will. You don't really have the control towards what you're liking and what you're attracted to. Based on, like, subconscious conditioning.
Okay,
or, like,
but I can control my response to it. I say, now I'm being tempted. Now here's something where it's just like, I know I can't have that, and here it is, these beautiful, ripe boobies in my face. You know, to be or not to be. You know, like, there is a biological imperative. Yeah, if we saw them all the time, we would not be having this conversation.
I know, but that's why we're so desensitized to all the natural things. And, like, another thing that really pisses me off is notice how, like, anything that's, like, holy is turned into a cuss word. Piss. Yeah. Our urine. How holy do we know the urine? Like all the science in urine. Yeah. And then, fuck. Like, lovemaking, we're gonna turn that into a curse word. That's cursing, is making love to people. Like,
okay.
How about shitting, you know? Shit. Like, is it really that bad to release toxins from your body? Do we even understand, like, the biochemistry of the human composition? Yeah, help yourself. There's a cup right there. In the... Not there. Are they there? But the cups are also up there. Here. Cups go here. Or, no, I'm going to use that.
Where's the tequila?
No, this is actually like a flower pot that I actually use for,
or tea.
What am I going to do with you? Have a seat. You are the guest.
Oh, okay.
Please keep sharing your mind. Are you okay with this cup? Is it too girly?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh no, it's great. It's like when I do somebody's chart, it's like I have to really know where they're coming from, at what level.
I forget that you do astrological charts. You know that? I forget that all the time.
It really helps me because I can't address certain, kinds of understandings. In the outer planets especially.
Yo, here's some really, really good tea that has, like, golden seal and, like, a bunch of other stuff if you want.
Okay. That sounds good.
A lot of good herbs, but yeah, you can have both.
Oh, is this for you?
No, I have. Okay. I made a batch. I'll make another batch. More medicine. I love to use...
really what I'm trying to say is, like, your worldview is shaping everything. And it's like your feelings...
Are they not connected to also shaping
your feelings shape what you think more than your thoughts shape your feelings. At least when you're unconscious, if you're not, like, actively working with your awareness.
I don't know if I'm ever truly working with all my awareness.
Kind of like all this ties in to what's happening.
Always, the synchronicities are just ridiculous.
The synchronicities.
The divine timing, the law, the order, like, all of it. It's just...
Well, this is known as synchronicity.
I'm just having a deja vu moment with the candle, and I can't help but freaking think about making the wax painting in front of you. Like, that's coming to mind.
Well, I have video of that. You have that, right?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually threw that thing
great.
out, to be honest.
You threw what out?
I threw it out. The art.
You mean the art? I was like, you should save that.
I know, I definitely felt like it was like a piece worth like $1,000. Like, if it could stay intact and, like, was nice. But I kind of, like, let it fall off the wall. and then like it shattered, and then I was just
right.
like really pissed off, to be honest. I just like chucked it because I like lacked faith. I'm like, nobody's gonna buy your art. But like I think that it would help if I like believed in my own self and was like loving and supporting. Like, yeah, Trina, if somebody really wants to take this off your hands, they can get it for this price. Otherwise, we're just gonna hold on to it.
Did our conversation segue? I wasn't really sure where it was going. I thought it was like we could be talking about something that's maybe like some sort of abstract lesson, or we could talk about how you're really feeling, why you're feeling that way, not putting it on all these other people
I'm
and
running
what
away
their
from the
reactions
emotions.
are, but really what
Highlighter.
where you are responsible for putting yourself in the situation where you can be vulnerable to that type of...
Okay, pause. So, what you were saying earlier was triggering all kinds of things, and you just said something that was like a super highlighter that allowed me to remember, like, to reaccess, remember, like, this aspect, like, that you were talking about. So, you're right. Part of the problem isn't those other mother flowers. The problem is with me saying that they're controlling or submitting to their quote control, which really is no control, which is just emotional pressure and judgment and energetic fields projected and casted at me, right? And then like I'm bending my will and saying, fine, I won't have to like that. I'm a changed man now, you know? Like I don't really believe and stand for that either. I just believe in being like myself, and I feel like that with like society being so on you like that like sometimes it can be hard to even find out who am I really, or like who was I just pushed into being for survival. And I feel like
because does
that mean every person is the same, except we're all just going through these different paradigms and these different like
is your worldview your own view of reality, or is it one that is imposed upon you by your environment and the people around you and your teachers and your learning and the societal norms,
social conditioning,
and the very language that we use forms our thoughts?
Social engineering.
Well, yeah, you could say that manipulation of language has kept people limited. That may actually be a true fact. I mean,
what if like other things were happening? Like like I'll just do something like really extreme as like a joke, right? So let's say that like Harvard really was putting particles in the sky and like possibly blocked certain spectrums of light. You know, so like what if things like that were changed instead of just like the other stuff, or even thinking about the food, like how much the food's been altered, just imagining how all of that affects like all the different ways.
Okay, astrologically speaking, the sun is aligned with your heart and your will.
Really?
Okay? Yes.
So by heart's in Pisces.
So, but according to Alan Oken, nothing trumps your will. Whatever tendencies or like the stars don't compel, they impel. Whatever impulses that we have due to our planetary placements or our vibe or however, you know, our chemistry, the will can overcome anything. But first we have to be aware. You can't use your will properly if you're not aware. And that's worldview. It's like, is your perspective being clouded by the way other people have told you how to look at things?
Yes, on beauty, on everything. Really.
Well, that's why I've told you should be studying metaphysics.
It's weird, though, to me, because, like...
It's a mental process. And you can't let your thoughts be short-circuited by bad habits. That's sort of you almost need to be in a meditative state to be watching all your own thoughts very carefully and your words, because that's what's creating your reality. So if you're not having this inner dialogue that's going on all the time, where you're not so much, yeah, I mean, we're discerning what we're thinking and saying to ourselves, not so much judging it. If we're being hard on ourselves, then we have compassion, you know. If we're being too soft, that's where we need the coach, you know, the parental function needs to come up when the child isn't like developing. So and we can do that for ourselves, but also we need others to reflect off of us, you know. And it's not like a lot of times you don't really get the lesson that you thought you got when you had that teacher. You know, it was like maybe it was a science class, but oh boy, did you get a different lesson from that, just from who they were and how they taught, or, you know, how you interacted with them, or, you know, the things that actually happened outside of the context of the class, you know. And that's how life is in a lot of ways.
Fun.
You know, it's really hard to come to a new realization. It's like going through a portal, and you kind of like the other side of like it's truly like a doorway to the new, and then the old dies away, and it doesn't, before you get through that portal, it is like hell. You know, it's like, I don't want to leave the womb kind of thing. And then you get pushed out. And it's like, also, when you die, I don't want to leave the body. But it's kind of like your spirit is in a box right now. It's called the human body. You know? So it's like it wants to get out too. And it wants to get out here.
Like
okay?
lucid dreaming and
like,
astral traveling?
Well, more like enlightened people that are walking around that are connected with their higher selves. And that's how we're all connected to each other.
How would you describe
kind of
the higher self to somebody that has no idea what the higher self is?
It'd be really hard. I mean, everybody I think has one. I mean, but like I think traditionally it's set up like where, you know, we have our mind and our ego, but like beyond that there's a soul and a spirit. And maybe there's even levels along the way there, but the spirit is kind of the unknowable thing. The spirit is just like that energy that is connected to the source, that doesn't have a form. But the soul is more like something that has an interface, you know, and maybe
my inner nerd wants to be like, what's a soul?
Yeah, right,
you know?
Exactly. That's a good question.
Yeah, because like, I mean, if we're gonna talk about higher self, like,
it's like the part of you that comes into the body when you're born and that leaves when you die.
I started thinking about another thing that I just thought about again, is like not being able to really know like what has really been power of suggestion, you know, suggested to us, and like knowing what's really ours. Like, for example, the certain kinds of eyeliner or like eye makeup that I enjoy, or hairstyles, like what level and how much is actually my own creation and my own heart and my own desires versus like the subliminal programming of conditioning saying, hey, this is what beauty is. This is that. Like, there's certain styles of like eyeliner or whatever that I like and stuff like that, you know? So like I started to think like different patterns like that, and like how much of our ideas are really our own versus like uploaded to our mind from technology or from the network of other people.
Good question, but I mean, I can't really say that I could answer it.
Oh,
like,
I know.
absolutely, but
I just like talking about those things with you.
I think from like an artistic point of view and a creative point of view, like nothing comes out of just nowhere. everything comes out of something else. It's a very organic evolution of like, you know, you sort of use the materials that are in your environment. So in that way, it's like you can't avoid sort of like, you know, I'm gonna have to play in the key of A on it. His knees are so dirty. That's your rug, I guess.
Dude, it's not my rug, I promise. I literally just carpet cleaned.
Well, yeah, no, that's what it is. But
I mean, maybe on the dirt here,
maybe,
you know?
Maybe. Doesn't matter.
But not on the carpet, because like I said, I just literally I just had it like done professionally, so.
Alright.
There's no way the carpets are dirty. Like I literally rub my face in them. Like I'm so OCD. It has to be clean. I have that Virgo energy in my chart, you know? I need it.
Well, maybe it's just...
he's going for the cabinet is what it is. That's why I was like, Michael! Because he always like goes in the cabinet and pulls out all the Tupperware.
Well, at least
it's like his
Tupperware
thing.
Doesn't break.
I know, but look at he's doing it.
The hair is just unreal.
It's like your hair, man.
Can you handle it? I'll help.
Can you handle it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can handle it. I can handle it. It's just I like kind of watching him and his behavioral patterns, you know? Like I find it interesting that when he comes here, like that's just like that's like his thing, you know?
So
I don't really even know where I was originally going with the first topic of just sharing that like aspect of thinking and possibility. I spend a lot of time kind of just like thinking about people and relationships together and like the hive and like trying to understand like soulmates and like feelings and just trying to just understand like the human experience on like a bunch of different levels.
I think that's a worthy activity or pursuit. Like you should be like trying to understand those things and not take them for granted. And I think it's beautiful.
I don't think I could ever come to a final conclusion.
And you should be okay with that. I mean, it took me a long time, but I had to be okay with a lot of uncertainty, and I had to be okay with a lot of ambiguity. And, like, especially with the news today, like, if I could say anything to anyone that hopefully would be helpful about, like, in the confusion and the polarity and the
non-duality.
Not even that. I mean, yeah, there's a polarization, and maybe that's part of a process that's going to overall be good. But I think people have to, you know, re-examine their own beliefs, you know, and try to strip it down to what just makes sense to them, like what the Buddha said, you know, like don't believe anything unless it just makes sense to your own mind. Even if I say it, you know, you just
you know how awkward that is. Like I actually went through a couple problems like that. Like I wanted to express and be myself in this one way. And, like, I was with, like, these other people, and basically because the other people were there, like, it wasn't really, like, a place where I could express and be myself. Like, there was pressures and conditions of, like, the group, you know, encouraging me to do other things. Like, maybe I want to say proper goodbyes. Like, I want to go around hugging everybody and saying goodbye or something like that. But, like, the other person or, like, the people, they're like, no, like, we gotta go right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's just say bye. Bye. Or, like, another thing is, like, let's say... you're staying with, like, friends or family, and, like, they all eat, like, really bad. Like, let's say that they're eating McDonald's. Like, I don't know, I'm just, like, making up, right? Like, or just say that they're eating something that you know is, like, not good, and then, like, you, like, have that experience with them and eat the same stuff, and then you're kind of, like, in that same category, even though, like, it's not typically what you would do, though you allowed yourself to bend your will. Like, sometimes, like I was saying, like, hard to find your own voice. Like, not just hard to find your own voice, hard to sing your own voice, hard to, like, be it, like, just to be you, like, because, like, a lot of times, like, what you want to do is so different than what everyone else is doing.
Well, I think Jesus said, like, when in Rome, do as the Romans, which is to say, don't like try to appear to be so different from everyone else that you isolate yourself, or that you make yourself like, well, even to, not insult them, but so that you can get along. You go along to get along, perhaps. But
he's like clearly thinking. Like you can like tell he's thinking, right?
Yeah, he's thinking. All right.
Like maybe not like super structured pattern thoughts or anything like that, but he's like clearly like.
Right.
He's like looking around at all the different cabinets. He's like peeking around. He's opening certain ones. He's closing certain ones.
Well, it's interactive to some extent, and he sees us doing it all the time, and it's like but you see, it's cause and effect for us. For him, it's just like, oh look, they opened that and took something out, and that's like the purpose of it, or the cause and effect of it is not yet truly defined yet, I think, for him. Some things, though, he knows. Some things.
I just had like a vision of like
These are so dirty.
a tool or a game that I would create to play with him. I'm imagining like a bunch of different circled balls or like triangles or whatever, like shapes, and having different colors. And then I would see like what color does he go for every time, or or what color does he pick more often, like all the different. I'd be curious of that.
Well, he needs some friends to play with and to do things with him, and I did just put the artwork up in storage because I'm starting to get everything.
Because I started thinking about like how you like dress him, and like like my inner kid was like, if Michael could choose what colors he wears, like what would he wear? And that's why I was wondering, like, if he would actually, would he choose, like, a color, or, like, or, like, would he engage with the game at all, of, like, different colors and shapes?
I mostly dress him just out of practicality, with things that are easy to wash, or that are...
What are the hooks on the back of his shoes?
Oh, that helps us get, them pulled up when I have to put him on him, because he can't put him on himself. And
you like install those on there?
Yeah, I put those little rings on there. There's most sneakers have a little tab that you could either hang or pull your shoe on. But he kind of needs a shoehorn, but I can get away without it if I just kind of put my finger in there. And those are some really good little Merrills, and I got those at half price for him when I got mine, because I've been wearing Merrills for years and they're just really good. Thank you. But lovely. 7 minutes.
I got 33 over here.
Yeah. Is that just audio, or are you just letting?
It's technically video.
But you just.
Yeah, I just. This is how I like to ride.
On your hard drive that's taken out.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's cool if you have a big hard drive.
I like to play. Yeah, I do. I specifically got this iPhone 6s Plus just for the memory.
That's a 6.
6s Plus.
Oh, okay.
My inner kid's like, I never want to update ever. I don't want to change. They're probably going to make me eventually.
Oh, right. No, you should be upgrading because you have security updates and it fixes
blah, 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 blah. I feel like one of those people that's like, I'm keeping my flip phone.
It's not an Android. No, it's not an Android where, like, they have problems with their upgrades.
Yo, I just really love my iPhone.
Still playing with that.
Yeah, I just can't help it.
Yeah.
I'm so fidgety. Is that so bad? I like playing with candle wax. Like, it's like... And especially since it's spilled everywhere, like, how could I not just...
Again, I think it might just be a distraction from, like, getting to the deeper
It's true.
stuff.
You want to help me get deeper? Go.
You know, I always have wanted to help you get deeper, but I didn't
there's
realize
always a
that just running the recording would shift it to where now you're a little more attentive to it. Like, you realize it's, like, something that's on the edge.
Another part of me is
really
like running
important.
away from like the emotional.
That's what I'm saying. Because there really is a lot to having to own up to the responsibility of how you are creating your reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially like when you see how fucked up it can be. You know, like, because I don't really know you, and I think you have some things that are very together, and you're very open about those things. You know, you
I'm
don't
also
think
open
you're
about
not
my
together.
shit that's not together, you know?
Yeah.
Like
And that's also a beautiful thing, and that is like kind of where I think if you're a seeker, that's where you want to be. You want to be vulnerable at that place where, you know, where you're willing to see your own flaws.
I hate my
and your
own flaws
shadow.
though. It's so awful. Do you know how hard it is to be with yourself through that?
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's why it's so meaningful, because it's so hard. That's why it has value.
Oh my god. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, right.
Everyone would be alone.
I would say that. You know, here's the thing. When you realize how truly alone everyone is, you're all in it together.
Stop it. That's from a movie called P.S. I Love You.
Is it?
It is. She goes, if we're all alone, we're all together in that too. It's like my favorite line in the movie.
So you remembered that line.
Oh, absolutely.
And it
it's very
touched
impactful.
You there.
Yeah.
But did it impact you in a way where it changed the way you thought or felt about everything from then on? Or is it just like maybe now coming up that had a strong feeling for me, but then I would just always kind of like, you know, run from those feelings? What you really have to go through to be that solo pilot, you know, and it's really stripping it down.
I mean, there's definitely a great beauty of being able to be on your own and like being able to be like okay and fearless and all that, right? However, like what I think is the harder thing than being alone is like everybody getting along. Like, right? Like being able to, like, imagine two strangers meeting and like trying to live together. Totally, completely different cultures, completely eat differently, and they have to learn how to be in a home together. For there to be understanding, for there to be, like, love, instead of seeing, like, I'm so different from you. This is my story. This is my story. Our story is conflict. Oh, I believe in this.
Well, why would there... Well, first of all, I think it's fine if there could be love there between strangers that have to live together for some, you know, whatever hypothetical reason. But why can't there be indifference? Why can't there just be sort of a mutual respect? Is like, I don't have to love you, but I don't hate you. It can just be like, if you keep the sink clean, I'll keep it clean. If you keep the bathroom clean, I'll keep it clean.
That's like conditional love. Like,
no,
I will love you if you love me. If you do this, then...
I'm only just saying, if you're hypothetically forcing people to live together, you don't have to force them to love each other. That should be of free will. You know, maybe something that comes out of my willingness to be considerate enough to clean up after myself could possibly make that other person love me. Just for that reason alone.
I don't believe in that either. Like, why would I behave differently just so you'll love me? It's the same thing with, like, wearing makeup and playing dress up, right? Like, why would I...
It's the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do you want a clean bathroom yourself?
I believe in that, yes.
Okay, well then you keep the bathroom clean when you're done. And then the other person, it would be at least if you're being forced together, you would at least have to agree on some kind of standard. But usually what would happen is one person would do it a little better than the other, and potentially resent it that they were doing it better or harder or taking more time, or maybe they don't realize that other person doesn't see as well, so they can't possibly clean as well, or they could, they don't even maybe know.
And some of them, they can complete each other because they're such opposites.
Oh, well, there's all these hypothetical things. I'm just saying why, the practical things of throwing people together. I mean, this is what reality TV shows are built on, right? Big Brother. Is that still going on?
I have no idea what that
like
is.
30 years old?
Reality
you
show.
Don't know what that is.
I don't watch television.
I don't like it either.
Television.
I gotta have my Rick and Morty. Shout out to Rick and Morty. Hashtag Rick and Morty.
Hashtag everything on the show is actually real and not just a joke. Quantum physics. Hashtag.
Hashtag wubba lubba dub dub.
Hashtag take off your pants and panties.
that is one of the lines.
Yes, it is.
Jump up and down. I've watched it many times. I really get a kick out of it. That is a show that I think could help people if they're watching closely. It could help to shift their worldview, the way they think about the universe.
Most people aren't thinking about the universe, though. They're thinking about everything that's suggested to them to think about.
Like getting new tires for their car, or getting a new car.
Whatever's on the front of their mind.
How about making their rent or feeding their kids? But, I think that, if church was really serving people, the whole idea of, why don't we take this day to give thanks or whatever, we'd kind of be thinking about maybe...
Helping our local community?
No, I mean, thinking about the universe, thinking about creation, thinking about what the hell we're doing here. Why am I having this experience? Why is there something instead of nothing? Did you ever think about that?
Never.
But, I mean...
I'm just being funny, excuse me.
That's really funny.
What's so funny about it is that it's not so funny,
Yeah. I was gonna say, and this is kind of dark, but it's relevant.
Yes. Give us the medicine.
The Albert Camus, an existentialist. I think it's French, an existentialist, Albert Camus. And he writes about a lot of different things, but one of them is that kind of the ultimate thing that we have to grapple with, if we're being honest about life, is suicide. And he's not advocating for suicide, he's just advocating for understanding the implications of it, that, it's about choice. Because, it's also about the control of your own destiny.
Yes.
And how you view your life and how you value your life. So there's other things, because he talks about Plato's cave.
Allegory in a cave.
The cave, the
being
allegory.
Woke. Yeah.
Yeah, that... Should I just...
You can.
To the best of my ability. We're all living as if we're chained and shackled inside of a cave, that we can only see the wall and we can't see the entrance. But there's a fire outside the entrance, and it casts shadows on this wall that we see. So we're seeing projections and we're seeing things move in front of us, but we think that's real. We think that's what reality is. We don't know that there's a real world out there that is really, we're only seeing an animation, a projection of.
I feel like our whole universe is like that.
That is.
And there's like multiple dimensions, multiple universes.
You just got the whole thing, and except.
Is that really what Plato's allegory in a cave symbolizes?
I think it does.
I'm gonna throw up, dude. What the heck?
I think what it is all of the energies that come from the different parts of the universe sort of coalesce together and create a field in a sweet spot. It's like a node, a vibrational node, like or almost a tone, like on a node on a string, even, where everything comes together and there's a planet with a ecosystem that has a consciousness, that has beings that are fractals of the universe. Every one of us is a fractal of the universe.
Okay, so what you're speaking on fractals, I've been given like visions, like for a few years now. Like what's been shown to me is like your soul is a fractal, basically. And like your soul is so large and expansive, like it's in other bodies. Like there's multiple versions of yourself. There are some people that like don't have any, and there's other people that have like it's hard to explain, like they're opposite, like the inverted mirrors. It's hard to explain, but like and there's like different experiences for different people and stuff like that. Like, there's this one girl I know, and I feel like I've met her soul, like, 3 times. Like, they're all, like, completely different people, but at the same time, like, it feels like they're all the same, like, star, or, like, the same aspects, but they can't see themselves. It's hard to explain. It's, like, on an energetic level, perhaps.
There's a lot of things that are hard to explain. Like, words don't do justice because our language actually is limited, and our language is limiting our thinking and our imagination. So that's why music, I think, is important. And even though, I don't necessarily make the direct connection between, like people becoming enlightened through music. I think music can condition, especially playing music, can condition someone's brain so that they can access other kinds of thinking.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely have noticed working with different music tones, like, can be medicines, and I can access different states of consciousness by working with these certain songs or going down these certain levels of songs. And then also it's interesting that sometimes you can play those same songs again and it reactivates like all those memories and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's the limbic part of the brain. But the memories, sure, and the tones, just like smells, that's also the limbic.
I love hearing people talk about the brain, and like it's so interesting to learn all this stuff. Like, for me, like, I guess it's really, like, mind-blowing just to think about, like, how come in school we're not taught about, like, our bodies more, like, digestion system, and, like, all bodily functions, like...
Well, eventually we do, but, like, they don't teach you about that when you're a kid. I mean, when you're really super young. Because that's all, like, part of the worldview and the structure of, the social programming, let's face it. I mean, it's indoctrination. Every culture has their own indoctrination.
Culture.
Yeah, culture. I mean, it's like a petri dish. It's like a little incubation tray that's isolated in an area that,
Yeah, I'm loving the ASMR background sound.
Oh, cool. He's happy to provide. He just really found his bliss there. That's all he really wanted.
I love it. I love it.
I gotta get a place
and do that. That's like his thing.
Either that or like I'll just put like a row of cabinets in the trailer that we build, like maybe a tiny house trailer kind of thing, and he'll just be it. He'll be in the kitchen and a bathroom. That's all we need. We'll sleep outside, sleep in the van, sleep in a tent, whatever. I did have this whole thing about like the dual nature of reality, and like
Age of Aquarius?
As far as the right hand goes, it has a left hand to balance it out. You know? And the two eyes give us like a stereoscopic vision so that we can literally have perspective. So we can have a spatial relation in our mind to understand how far we are from something or how big something is. These are kind of fundamental building blocks of consciousness that have allowed us to kind of understand the universe around us. And it's all related to space and time. And we're just living in this experience of like the polarities coming together in this vibrational field that created the planet and Trina Christine Mason, among other souls, right? But it's all like you are a total fractal of this holographic universe.
Why are you calling the universe holographic? What does that mean to you?
Well, hologram is something, you know, that we think of that is like a projection that needs at least 3 types of beams, or the beams projected from 3 different places.
How do you know the universe is projecting beams? Or like, where?
Well,
what are you saying?
We know that there's all kinds of cosmic radiation coming from all directions. And we know where the central, or the origin, the area of space where the origin came from, apparently. We know, and I think that's, well, the galactic center somewhere.
Galactic center?
I think it's somewhere in Sagittarius. But this other part of space where they say the Big Bang occurred is, you know, he's got it going here. Now, I have to take a picture.
Michael's easy to please.
But yeah, a hologram is something that like is assembled in one specific area from a stream of light and information coming from other areas where they coalesce and form this this projected image. And that's in a sense what I think we're experiencing. And that's how this whole physical thing is a miracle. And if we can bring the spiritual awareness to the physical, that will be the ultimate goal, I think. That's what the mission is. That's That's what the mission of the light bearers are.
To make people believe?
No, to bring the light of consciousness to humanity. And I mean, it's like you don't have to make people do anything. Once they awaken, they'll just be doing it. I mean, they might have to go through their process to learn to awaken, but it's not something that can be forced on people. Though, I mean, I think that the suffering that people do is what ultimately leads us to greater awareness. So you either, you learn or you suffer. And you probably both, suffering and learning. And at some point, when you realize it's like there's no growth without pain. That's what Carl Jung said, and it's absolutely right. And it's like, if you're struggling, that's when you know that you're out. That's why blessed are the downtrodden, or how does that go? Blessed are the poor in spirit. That's a very powerful thing.
I'm like, I don't get it. Can you explain it to me?
Because, it's sort of like you gotta suffer if you want to sing the blues. Like, in a way, like you can't know transcendence without going through the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really have this feeling of that. The depths of feeling as maybe it's a baseline. I don't know. But you can't know, like, and perhaps singing the blues is that transcendence of the sorrow or the grief or the pain or the suffering. And you can't, like, if you don't have that feeling, they say that you are not really singing the blues because it doesn't have the pain of.
I feel you.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I feel that so much. I learned that, like, when I would fall in love with a song, and I noticed I would try to sing the song, but I wouldn't feel like I was doing it right unless I really felt the emotion of the song. Like, those are the songs that I could play with and just surrender and fall into it and really become it.
Just listening.
From being able to really feel the song, really identify with the emotions in the song, really feel what I'm singing about.
Okay. Well, there you go. How music is so transformative.
I'm like, that's why didgeridoos are important, and we have to keep providing the world with didgeridoos.
I do want to have a didgeridoo project, and I need to have something that makes me gives me some kind of notoriety, so I can have the leverage to make. I just
have a funny question. How many people in the world are making didgeridoos?
There's probably maybe in the thousands, but I don't think that anybody's making them the way I am. There's one guy that makes them out of plastic. And he's a Trump supporter, so.
Do you see how quick there's no love? I don't understand how who cares? People don't.
Who cares?
Who cares about each other? If a brother says to you, I want to take myself out. Right? You honestly gonna be that guy that says, go ahead. Are you really like that? Or are you the guy that's man, I don't even know you so well, but hey, why don't you, I don't know, can you be a little happier? Is there something in there? See what I'm saying? Some love, you know what I mean? Or let's put it this way. Somebody believes that, if they take themselves out, that they go home to God. People believe that, right? I'm trying to make comparisons, but it's not coming
analogy.
out. Yeah. It's I can't seem to get it out exactly how I'm angling at it. So, like, I guess I'll go back to what you're saying. You're saying, so this guy's a Trump supporter. And what I'm saying, like, I'm just gonna, like, I don't buy into politics at all, right? Politics, multiple ticks, parasites. Okay, I don't really buy into any of that professional wrestling bullshit.
You know what Ralph Nader said to the youth of the nation in 1999? He said, "Turn on to politics, or politics will turn on you." And guess what?
Politics turned on him? I'm just being
He
funny.
turned on you. He was speaking to your generation. And, you know,
so,
young
but you're not letting me finish though. What I'm saying is, hypothetically speaking,
underrepresented.
Can you open yourself to receive? Do you want to listen to me?
Can you do your best to not scold me? Especially, like, while we're recording.
Asked a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you ask the question again?
Do you want to listen to me?
Oh, I've been listening, but we're having a conversation, so...
I'm asking if you have a space to receive,
it's like ping pong. Back and forth. Do you want to stop playing now? Oh, is it turning into a monologue now? I'll stop. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to share with you one aspect of thinking. If you could leave a space in your heart to just, like, try to just imagine this for a moment. Imagine that someone's a Trump supporter, and imagine that we think that it's bad and that person's no good if they're doing that. Hypothetically speaking, we're feeling that way. And then let us say that, is it best for each other to allow the differences and to allow the separation? Or do we try to come together and allow ourselves to see eye to eye why the other person's feelings are validated and just?
I mean, he's my Facebook friend. I mean, I'm not projecting on him or anything.
I'm just being funny. I'm just saying, like, instead of outcasting and disassociating, like, imagine...
Hey, I've got best friends that are Trump supporters, so I don't know how you're trying to pigeonhole me here.
You're so funny.
I gotta say this one thing. Out of all those thousands of didgeridoo makers, this is probably the only one that is a Trump supporter.
You're so funny.
So that's pretty cool just in and of itself.
Right on. I also don't think that the hate for Donald Trump is really, like, everyone's own original idea. Does that make sense? Like, look at the character that this man was paid to be on television for professional wrestling and, like, all the different things that he's done as an actor. And, like, just imagine the role that he's playing right now. He's doing the same thing.
He's
passing
not supposed
other
to be playing a role. He's supposed to be doing a job.
I mean, that's the illusion, right? That's what we think. That's what we're told.
Well, I mean, if he was the
is he not just the model, like the image, the face?
I don't know. What is he? Claimed to have been the working man's friend, but I don't see it. So that's what I call hypocritical. Regardless of what, I mean...
maybe in his mind because he's paying them off, so they all have jobs.
Just because I say that doesn't mean that I am pigeonholed into one specific, like, perception or view or side. I think that's just a very objective kind of way of looking at it, and there are plenty of Republicans who feel exactly the same way as I do, so you can't really say that this is just, you know...
I don't believe in, like, segregation and divide and conquer and separation of any kind. Like, I believe that everyone has a right to live, everyone has a right to eat, and I kind of also don't really believe in this land is my land, this land is your land. Like, I kind of, like, and the way that I believe in it is that, like, yeah, we share this place together, but not like I own this and this is yours and I can buy this with money and I'm
This is all, like, about worldview.
Is it?
Yes. And it's okay, like, that you can have these beliefs, but having these beliefs does not mean that you can just ignore the reality of what the real laws are about property and about, like, I think...
Who made those laws?
Standard of living.
Yeah.
those laws were made
Who broke
by
up the families?
people that were elected to be representatives of those voters.
You act like this is only happening in, like, America.
Can we define what is happening?
The human experience.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of talking about what's happening in America, but I know that there's other cultures and other types of governments and other, things that are happening, but...
Like, imagine living in Cuba right now.
Actually, Cuban people and the country are very resourceful, and they haven't spoiled their natural resources. And the people are very committed to working hard and living simply, and they all know how to feed and provide for themselves and help each other. So, however, horrible it must be to be, under Castro or, still under the new Castro.
You mean communism?
Yeah. When the shit hits the fan in America and capitalism is a whole failure, Cuba will not even notice that anything happened.
We know that capitalism can't work.
Yeah. I mean, it's unsustainable, for sure. The way that it is. The way that we experience
Will you look up Agenda 2030?
Okay. Did I already look at this?
2030, not 21. 21 is for the 21st century. 2030 is for the year 2030.
Oh, boy. And so... the depopulation agenda.
Let me see this. It doesn't say that, does it? Oh, great. Yeah, here, I'll go to the Sustainable Development Goals. So, they're saying...
They're trying to undermine sustainability by giving it a bad name.
No. They're giving this a good name. This is what they do. They're going to call it, the peacekeepers. Though they're really, those are the people who are fighting and killing people in...
The mercenaries?
Okay, so this is called the Sustainable Development Goals, okay? And this is on the Wikipedia or whatever, and number 1 says no poverty. So no poverty means that everybody's equal, there's no money system. Number 2, zero hunger.
No, wait a minute. You just asserted something.
I am, but just
but
try
they
to...
had a simple line there.
They do.
So you read something into it. So what's your agenda?
Imagine it that way. Just imagine it that way.
No, I have.
Tell me that's not possible for them to not make a totalitarian society that's built on this, and that everything's coded by Bluetooth on how much electricity we're using, and we're charged that way.
It doesn't have to be totalitarian to serve everyone.
Quality education.
Did you hear what
Good
I
health
said?
and well-being.
All of those things I'm for. Who's not for those things?
Okay, so of course, because it's disguised this way. It's the same thing with the Georgia Guidestones.
Right.
Same thing. It says leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. Because nature is more important than humans.
Well, I don't necessarily feel that either of those things are true. And just because somebody put it on these giant blocks somewhere out in the countryside in Georgia doesn't mean that I don't have to believe what's on it, and I don't have to believe that...
Clean water and sanitation. Who do you think is going to choose what kind of things makes your water officially sanitary?
Who does it now?
Who labels that?
Who does it now?
You, right? Are we not currently in charge of what kind of water we choose and drink from instead of it being
Well, what comes through the tap there?
I mean, obviously we don't
Where's it
have to
coming
drink
from?
that.
Oh, we don't have to drink
You don't
it.
have to drink that, no.
Because we have bottled water, if we want it. But
Like,
what if we don't have bottled water?
imagine testing your own water at home and really knowing
done it
what
before.
minerals...
Yeah. Well,
stuff is in
I've
there.
tested it for parts per million, and that's why I've just started
How many parts per
filtering
million?
it. Yeah. Well, it was up in the 200s back in the day. I don't know if it would be now or out here in the county. That was in the city. But then by the time I had like a reverse osmosis filter.
What I want to know is how come this page for Sustainable Development Goals comes up when I type in Agenda 2030. Like, why is this coming up? Intended to be achieved by the year 2030 are UN Resolution 70/1, the 2030 Agenda. Is a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all.
So the people that don't want that, like the people that still want to like control and have the power, don't want everything to be evened out for everybody. They want to have, a bunch of people that don't have anything and a few people that has everything. And that's how it is now. And they're totally happy. And then when the stock market goes up and down and up and down, they make even more money. They love it when things crash. That's when they start buying.
Okay, so this is what this one says. I found a translation website or whatever. So it says, Goal 1, end the poverty in all its forms everywhere. Translation, centralized banks, IMF, World Bank, Fed to control all finances, digital one world currency, and a cashless society. Goal 2, end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Translation, GMO. Goal 3, ensure healthy lives.
What does it say about GMO?
They're saying that, they're saying publicly that they're going to end the world hunger, but meanwhile they're going to feed us people, or like feed us Frankenstein foods, or GMO, Frankenfood. I like to make jokes. Goal 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-beings for all ages. Translation, mass vaccinations, Codex Alimentarius. Whatever that means. Goal 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Says translation, UN propaganda, brainwashing through compulsory education from cradle to grave. Goal 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Translation, population control through forced family planning. Goal 6.
That's all like, who is doing this interpretation though? So somebody is spinning what the simple document has said, and they're saying what it really means, but they don't really know.
No, they don't. They don't. But isn't it nice to just think and say thank you for someone who just like might have like thought like a little bit ahead of like just maybe. Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, and resilient and sustainable. They want to create human settlement zones, like where we are called human capital in the document, like as if we're their resources. So they want to put us in contained areas.
Well, that's what's happening now in cities.
That's why they're doing like the census and like they're trying to like restructure society.
Doing a census every 10 years for a long time, and it does help poor people especially, but
this is stuff that's been planned for like the next 87 years in the future. Like it's so strategically planned and worked with. Like
that's maybe true, but there's just too many things that change the course. Unexpected consequences and events that take place that, nobody's plan for like even 10 years is going to be, like a foolproof plan, because anyway, now it's 2020. By 2030, there's supposed to be this technological singularity.
Like putting our consciousness?
The merging of nanotechnology, computing, and biology, according to Ray Kurzweil in this The Singularity is Near was the book from 2000 or 2001. It's an old book, but they've been tracking it all. how we won't be able to really see. I mean, we could be having like a lot more. Um,
There's a bunch of translator. If you type in like on the like search engine, you type in a translator or translation of Agenda 2030. This guy says the end poverty in all forms everywhere. It says translation: put everyone on government welfare, food stamps, housing subsidies, and handouts that make them obedient slaves to global government. Never allow people upward mobility to help themselves. Instead, teach mass victimization and obedience to government that provides monthly allowance money for basic essentials like food and medicine. Labeling it ending poverty. Number 2, end hunger, right? Invade the entire planet.
All right, can I just say
I just think it's funny.
Why necessarily side with the person that's just criticizing that agenda? Those certain things, like if they are going to use GMOs, I'm not for that. But it's like, if it is just a generic thing, like free education, like those kinds of things, because...
What if everything people were given as free education wasn't really like scientific or factual data, and like we just automatically believe things? We grew up believing things that weren't true. Like think about all the neuroscientists and all the people that were taught data about the body that is actually not accurate.
Well, what if it's that way now? What if it's that way now?
I feel like it is already that way now.
Okay. So...
I feel like we've all been brainwashed and indoctrinated, and that like there are like...
So how do you know what to think?
I believe that...
Maybe they want you chasing all these conspiracy theories.
What if we're not meant to
you're
think?
Not really... Yes.
That's what I believe. If you drink or if you eat from the tree of knowledge, you will surely die, right? So when you eat knowledge, like literally, like where's your mind go? Like where can it go? It's just like this fucking container, like, right? Like there's no inner peace. Like
okay, there's one mind in the universe, and we all use it. It's the mind of the original source, the universal subconscious mind. And you're connected to it. And that's what...
innate intelligence.
It's like, it is using you to filter all these... Maybe not even filter. Are you filtering? You are not. I've told you that you're not from day one that I met you.
Isn't that a good thing not to filter though?
No, that's not a good thing.
Why? What do I have to filter?
It doesn't mean filter everything. I mean,
what am I filtering? You saying you gotta change me?
This is where you could go to where what the thoughts make you feel. Or what... See, everything is like a seed. A thought is like a seed.
I don't like it. All I know...
Actually, the
I don't care what you say. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. It just doesn't feel right, okay? It just doesn't feel right. I don't really like the idea of us becoming cyborgs and having like computers in our bodies and putting these chips and like
This is all just hypothetical speculation.
It's not so much.
If somebody can just give you this...
Ryan...
Somebody wrote something and it made you feel a certain way. That's what the context of it is.
It's true.
That somebody could write something and make you feel a certain way. Bingo. It doesn't matter what the content was as long as they got you to shut down.
That's what you just did to me. You said this thing and it made me start thinking about people having like computers built into their arms and shit and being part like robot and part like human. And that's a new fashion statement that like in 2030 that people are like these half cyborg motherfuckers and they got implants in their brains and chips and files in the heart.
Do you know anybody with a stent or a bypass or an artificial heart or a pacemaker?
Okay, I know. It's already happening.
Okay, are these people now not entitled to have their cybernetic device to help them live? I mean, I'm not saying there's no controversy about body enhancements and all of this technology that could,
Make your
strip
genetics
away
your
your
best.
humanity. But this is kind of like one of those philosophical things about to be or not to be.
Bro.
Are we still rolling?
Oh wait.
Oh my God, this is.
Yo, we got that B-roll.
Oh my
We got
God.
that good. Michael's
You
like,
have to-
she's funny.
You have to crank out that battery.
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
for sure, dude. I want to keep rolling with you.
But I think we are going to have to resolve it because I'm going to have to get him his next thing, and he probably needs a diaper change and needs his hands and his knees wiped real good. Oh my God. But he has enjoyed it, and I have too. But I don't know. We sort of did stray, and I guess it's normally like this, and we are
It absolutely is
peeling away at the onion, as it were. The layers.
Oh, I remember what we were
of it
talking about.
all.
We're talking about like cyborg people and like a new generation of people, and you're talking about how that already exists, basically, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Woo!
But there is a larger context to it, is that like people want you freaked out about the potential changes so that you're afraid.
You want to know what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid that we're gonna ruin humanity. Period. They're like, we're gonna fuck up the original structure. And we're gonna fucking morph and do all these fucking different things, and that we're fucking around with genetics. And I kinda don't like it, yeah, because I'm open to having other kinds, yeah, heck
You
yeah.
remember,
But at the same
remember
time,
when
like,
I said that like nothing can trump the will? And I don't like using the word Trump, but this is like, I think that
are you saying that nothing's gonna change my mind because my will is just set and like there's something doesn't feel right about this?
It's like though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because the Lord is with me.
Yeah.
Which is like you're connected to spirit through your will. And if you realize that you can transcend anything, I mean, it's like if Jesus did do all of his teachings and finally transcend death and ascend, then that may be something that we are having to talk about. And all of this attachment about like what the reptilians are doing on the planet and, taking over people's bodies or, turning us into cyborgs or making us their digital slaves or controlling our minds. Okay, if maybe all of that is true, but there's always going to be that spark of resistance that, we're connected to the higher source, and good versus evil is always going to have to, come to terms, and we'll all have to decide what side we're on. We'll all have justifications for what it is that we do, but it's like if we're just trying to avoid the difficult thing of feeling, knowing, understanding, connecting.
Should we not step into that resistance, though?
Well, resistance has its place, and I mean, you kind of need to resist the things that diminish us, and those are usually things associated with vices. But also, resist.
You mean like when people are like shooting up, or like what did you mean?
The vices, which would be,
like
vanity or greed or
vanity, like
hatred.
Does vanity
I'm
mean
thinking
look?
of the 7 deadly sins, and those things are considered, I think, the
Could
vices.
you list them for me, because I don't really know what
I don't think I could even name 3 of them, but like.
Well, you just mentioned vanity. So is vanity like narcissism, like looking in the mirror type thing?
Yeah.
And then there's greed.
Yeah, greed is definitely
lust.
one of them. Lust is one of them.
You were mentioning some off the top of your head.
7 deadly sins rap. What are the 7 deadly sins? Wikipedia. There are cardinal sins, and there are capital vices, and there are 7 deadly sins, also known as the capital vices or cardinal sins. It's a grouping of classification of vices within Christian teachings. They are pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth, which are also contrary to the 7, thank you, heavenly virtues. Contrary to the 7. First, I want to see what wrath is. Wrath or rage is an intense emotional state involving a strong, uncomfortable, and hostile response to a perceived provocation, hurt, or threat. That's like if you read something and it triggers you, this is what you are. This is what someone just pulled a trigger and made you angry. These sins are often thought to be abuses or excessive versions of one's natural faculties or passions. For example, gluttony abuses one's desire to eat, to consume. But I guess we all have to eat anyway. But 7 heavenly virtues are prudence, justice, temperance, courage or fortitude, with the 3 theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity.
Faith, hope, charity
are the 3 theological virtues.
And what were the rest of them?
Prudence.
What is prudence again?
That's like not going to excess. And like using your judgment and saying, I'll just only eat 1 plate, or I'll only just buy 1 pair of socks, or I'll just, it's to be prudent rather than say, oh, I need all these things, or I want all these things. You're being prudent, Justice, temperance, and courage. Temperance.
Justice?
Yeah, is the modern use.
What's temperance?
Is defined as moderation or voluntary self-restraint. It's kind of the same thing. It is typically described in terms of what an individual voluntarily refrains from doing. This includes restraint from retaliation in the form of nonviolence and forgiveness.
Beautiful.
Restraint from arrogance in the form of humility and modesty. Restraint from excesses such as extravagant luxury or splurging now in the form of prudence, and restraint. Restraint from excessive anger or craving for something in the form of calmness. Okay, so anyway, but did we need to go over justice or courage?
I mean, if you want to.
I want to look at prudence because it does.
Yeah.
Let's see, prudence meaning seeing ahead, sagacity, is the ability to govern and discipline oneself by use of reason. This is such a Virgo thing. It is classically considered to be a virtue, and in particular one of the 4 cardinal virtues. Prudentia is an allegorical female, I never knew this, personification of the virtue whose attributes are a mirror and a snake, who is frequently depicted as a pair with Justitia, the Roman goddess of justice. So they do sort of all kind of go together. Wisdom, insight, knowledge. Its whole prudence is definitely a Virgo thing. Maybe we should go because it's getting dark. I don't know, is that where we end it all?
If you like.
7 virtues.
Thank you.
Thank you.